The Just Baseball show just got a heck of a lot more interesting over the last 6 hours. We were planning on this to be the WBC episode. By the way, Cody Ponce, who signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with the Toronto Blue Jays after winning the MVP and the equivalent to the Cy Young and the KBO, he joins the program, so he'll be with us on the back half of the show. We are going to talk about Team USA and Team Dominican Republic as it stands right now, but before that, we've got a trade to talk about, and a crazy trade. And no, I'm not talking about the one that made my brain melt between the Pirates, the Rays, and the Astros. We're talking about the Orioles Rays deal that sent Shane Baz to Baltimore for five, count them, five things. Slater DeBrun, Caden Bodon, Michael Ferret, Austin Overn, and a comp A pick. So Shane Baz is headed to Baltimore. We're going to get in depth on that in a moment. Jack McMullen, Peter Apple. And again, we are going to talk through the Shane Baz deal and much, much more on the Just Baseball show. Peter Apple, who we brought to you by, boss?
BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JustBaseball when signing up, and you will get a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. All you got to do, just download the BetMGM app on iOS or Android and sign up using bonus code JustBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. BetMGM. Make it legendary. I like the tagline. Went from sportsbook born in Vegas to just make it legendary.
It's a legendary time of the year, and I love that they are making it legendary at this time. We had a very trafficky Friday in terms of MLB transactions, and we're not going to get into all of those right now. Join us on Monday. We are going to do a pod on Monday, and that will air on Sports Grid on Tuesday. We'll go through all of the transactions. So Michael King back in San Diego, the other San Diego signing, you've got the three-way trade that sent Mike Burrows to Houston, Brandon Lau to Pittsburgh, among other things. So we're going to talk about all of that. What?
Is that Brandon Lau trade official yet? I
don't think it's official.
I think it's about to happen. Like, my guess is by the time we're done recording, it might be official, but I don't think it's totally in place yet with all of those players. I think it's rumored to be close.
Is it rumored to be close? I mean, I guess I didn't see the team account tweeted out, but yeah, it's been reported.
Podcast P, be the deciding factor here. Is it official or is it not official?
Yeah. What say you, Podcast P? We can't see you, but say it.
So based on my basic research so far, it is still in deep stages, maybe agreed upon, but there's no official statement from either club yet.
1-0 for Peter. 1-0 for Peter. I'm off to a great start, Jack. But you're 0-1. You got to make it up.
I also forgot to mention, it crossed my mind at 250. I was like, Jack, Peter, Podcast P's here too. I got to start introducing him as Podcast P. So
yes, you do.
We'll keep on moving forward with that. But we are going to talk about all of that on the Monday show and on the Tuesday Sports Grid episode. So we'll go headline hunting and bounce around the recent transactions then. But there is one that you want to start with, and that is Shane Baz going to Baltimore for, again, a massive, massive haul. Slater DeBrun, first-round pick of Baltimore this year. Caden Bodon, another first-round pick of Baltimore this year. Michael Ferret, talented right-handed pitcher. Austin Overn, a young outfielder. And a comp A pick, which comes at the end of the first round upcoming. This is a king's ransom for a guy that has given Tampa, since he debuted in 2021, fewer than 300 innings at a 4.3 ERA. Now, plenty of underlying stuff loves Shane Baz. The eye test loves Shane Baz. I am a huge fan of watching Shane Baz pitch. But at the end of the day, giving up the equivalent to maybe 4 first-round picks here and Austin Overn is a little egregious. That's my knee-jerk reaction. I'll let it settle in over the course of the weekend, and I'll fill you in on how I feel on Monday. But you give me your immediate take on Baltimore acquiring Shane Baz.
Yeah, my expertise is not prospects. But from running our social media accounts for 4.5 years now, my expertise is certainly being able to gauge social media reactions from Orioles fans. And I think what's the most confusing thing to me is the Orioles fans' reaction to this trade on social media. And to be fair to them, I think it centers around their frustration with the national media killing Elias like we have done, for not trading prospects in order to get his team over the top. And then when he does that, we call the trade an overpay. Now, I understand that feeling, but I do have a lot of rebuttals to that. Both things, I believe, can unfortunately be true. We don't, Jack, you and I, we don't have an anti-Orioles bias. We just played GM for them on the latest episode and got excited for all the things that they can do. And we praised the Pete Alonso signing endlessly. We both agreed. That was, and Arm did as well. That was a great signing for the Orioles. But Arm's tweet, I believe, laid it out perfectly. How can the Orioles fans explain trading 4 years of Grayson Rodriguez for 1 year at $11 million for Taylor Ward, but at the same time, trade 3 top 10 prospects? If you go to justbaseball.com and you look at Arum's top 10 prospects, you got 7, 11, and 12. Now, it hasn't been quite updated since the middle end of the season, so Samuel Basayo is still in there, Dylan Beaver. So if you graduate them, this would be 3 top 10 prospects, plus another filler, plus a first-round pick for 3 years of Shane Baz. Now, what's going to be their initial reaction? Well, they don't think after Grayson Rodriguez left the building that he's going to ever throw again, which, of course, there's no true evidence for that. Even Grayson Rodriguez himself and Perry Manassian, the GM of the Angels, said they expect him in spring training, especially when just a few months ago, I saw plenty of Orioles rotation tweets with him slotted right in the middle of their rotation. There was a general excitement for him bouncing back. Now, to be fair, Shane Baz has talent. Absolutely. I'm also a big fan of Shane Baz. I've been a big fan of him, but I've been disappointed because not only has he not been able to stay on the field, when we finally got 160, 170 innings, whatever it exactly was last year, he had a major home run problem. And since 2022, Dean Kramer has tripled the B-WAR with a 3.95 ERA compared to Baz at a 4.36. Yeah. Now, Baz is more talented. He has more upside. Hasn't been achieved yet. So you're betting on a lot of it to work out instead of potentially swapping Mayo for that first-round pick. Do you think that this package, Jack, with Mayo instead of the first-round pick, gets you a Mackenzie Gore? Gets you a Joe Ryan? Gets you a Freddie Peralta? Can't imagine it'd be much worth a lot more than that. What do you think?
I think this package without any amendments gets you Mackenzie Gore. And then you fall into the problem of, well, is Shane Baz with 3 years more valuable than Mackenzie Gore with 2? I don't think so. I don't think it's close. Mackenzie Gore and Crochet through the All-Star break were leapfrogging each other for the MLB lead in strikeouts. Baz is a really good pitcher. He's not at that tier. I think if you presented Paul Taboni with this offer for Mackenzie Gore and 2 years of control when Washington is not in the conversation in the next 2 years, Taboni is looking at this and saying, hell yeah, I'm taking this deal. Are you kidding me? This felt like an onslaught of prospect capital being thrown at Tampa. And I would love to be a fly on the wall for the Mike Elias, Eric Neander conversation, because I could see a world where Neander was just on the phone saying, give me one more. Give me one more. I'd like one more here. And he's just continuing to up it. And Elias is saying, listen, we really like Baz. We'll figure out a way to make this work. And the guy that falls by the wayside here, so many people love Ferret, right? DeBrun, first-round pick. Bodine, first-round pick, one of the better defensive catchers that we've seen at the college level in quite some time. Sean Donahue just pointed this out. Overton had 64 bags in 112 games. That's the fifth piece of this that you're plucking.
Filler. That's the filler.
The filler. It's an unfathomable package for 3 years of a guy that has thrown fewer than 300 innings at a 4.3 ERA. And again, I'll repeat it. The underlying metrics are good. Fewer than 300 innings at a 4.3 ERA. That does not come close to telling the whole story of Shane Baz. But it has to account for a little bit of this story. And at the end of the day, he's got a UCL tear in there. It has to account for something serious. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know that there are two groups of prospects that are attached to the hip. you know that Jordan Lawler and Marcelo Meyer are attached to the hip because that was the case through the draft process. You also know that Grayson Rodriguez and Shane Baz are attached to the hip because you and Aram got into this conversation in like 21, and it was like you were Team Baz, he was Team Grayson, and you were like, you know what? I just feel it in my nads that Baz is better. And Aram's presenting you with all this data, and you just throw
none
the
of them
toothpick in.
pitched. And then none of them pitched except Shane
Neither
Baz
did.
here.
And now you essentially have Baz backfilling G-Rod's spot.
Yes. And before I continue on the social media reaction, because it is one of the stranger social media reactions I've seen, just because of the lack of consistency with Orioles fans. Baz's, and this comes to us from a YouTube comment, Baz's home run rate was due to the ballpark, 5.90 ERA at home, 3.86 ERA on the road.
3.9 still isn't good.
Can I answer that quickly?
Yeah,
no, I agree with you. Totally agree with what you just said. Say it again, because I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, a 3.86 still isn't that good.
Thank you. And if you look at his short spurts, the years that he got hurt, his home run to fly ball rate was higher. And I've watched a lot of Shane Baz starts. I actually donated to the Shane Baz Fund when I would back the Rays with him on the mound. He gave up some home runs that I don't care if they were playing with fences 550 feet away. When his fastball gets rocked in the middle of the zone, he could be playing in any ballpark, and those are exiting. Emphasis on exiting. Now, going back to the social media reaction. Another area that completely confuses me is we will mock up Orioles trades, just like we just did. The response, big overpay. You can't trade these prospects. And Orioles fans, historically, we've been doing this podcast for a long time. I've been running our social media pages for a long time. Orioles fans are at one of the top of my list of a fan base that wants to hold on to these prospects. And when Elias doesn't make these deals and they see what the returns are for other stars, they say, well, good, we wouldn't have paid that package. But now you trade them for Baz. And the biggest reaction, and Peyton, if you can go into my comment section on my tweet, into Arm's tweet, into our posts on social media, the most common reaction is none of them are any good and won't be stars. So if that's true, your system isn't very good. So which one is it? That's all I'm trying to ask here. And it's one thing to be biased. We all love our teams. We want to support our teams. We want to find a way to, quote unquote, cope with some of it. But it's the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Complete opposite. They go from, I want to hold on to these prospects and every other team is overpaying, we would never trade that, to none of them matter. They're far off from the big leagues. We didn't need them anyway. Both things cannot be true. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So I think this reaction is one of the most inconsistent reactions that I have seen on social media. There are two fan bases that I believe, unfortunately, and I want to say it onto the airwaves, that have the most inconsistent reactions. Chicago Cubs fans and Baltimore Orioles fans. Those two, sometimes I can't reason with. I can't even comment back because they're living on another planet. And yes, I'll be the one to call them out.
All You're I want such is a hater, and it's so funny that you call them out because for me, my problems lie with Yankee and Mets fans because I feel like their standards fluctuate constantly.
What I'm talking about are reactions to these types of deals. There are more delusional fan bases just in general. Like Yankee fans will think, what do you mean we can't trade our fifth best prospect for Tarek Skubal? Have you seen Spencer Jones? Like that. That's just crazy delusion. I'm talking about when things happen versus when things are projected. They have complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Sure. And I'm going to give both of those fan bases a lot of slack because they are fan bases that have had inconsistent front office direction, right? Yeah. Jed Hoyer, where is his direction? It was a different direction with Theo at the helm than it is with Jed at the helm and Carter Hawkins working with him. And then on Baltimore's side, it's been asking to prioritize the present. Then all of a sudden you prioritize the present. So then it's Orioles fans pivoting to, well, the farm doesn't matter like it did for the last 3 or 4 years. So I can appreciate the pivot from the fan base because this is the way that you can rationalize these kind of moves. I'm not going to blame a fan because at the end of the day, you are a fanatic for that team. You are going to back them. And that is the logical way to back them. You say, you know what? They weren't going to factor into the present. Right way to go about this if you are prioritizing the present. And that's a new thing for Orioles fans. As soon as they traded for Taylor Ward, that was the signal to that entire city that they were going to prioritize the present. And when they signed Pete Alonso, like that further implements the idea that they were going to prioritize the present. So I understand that Orioles fans' line of thinking was recalibrated a little bit. And I do think that they can coexist a little bit there. But really, I just I guess it's sympathy. Maybe it's empathy. I don't know the exact
No, I know
definition
where
of
you're
what
coming
I'm
from.
feeling right
I
now.
am also,
Yeah.
I want to make something clear. I'm not angry with Orioles fans.
No.
I'm not upset.
I think
with
you're just
them.
saying they're changing their standard in
Yes.
terms of prospects and holding on to prospect capital versus
And
moving it.
And it's not just changing, it's taking the complete opposite side immediately, as soon as it's done. That's what I just don't understand from a fan base that historically, throughout the years that we've been posting about everything on social media, has been 1 or 2 on keep them. Other teams are overpaying. We would never trade these 2 prospects, Kobe Mayo and Trey Gibson, for Mackenzie Gore. Look at our YouTube comment section yesterday. Now, I understand Kobe Mayo and Trey Gibson are better prospects than the 5 you gave up.
Yeah.
But I hope that they can also understand at the same time that we want the Orioles to spend now and trade from their system. But this wasn't the right way to do it, in our opinion. And now we've been wrong before. We've been wrong before, and we will be wrong again. But I think a big reason why people listen to this podcast is we are right more than we are wrong.
At least we're entertaining when we're super wrong.
Yeah,
That's my big thing. I always want to be entertaining when I'm wrong.
And I actually hope I'm wrong on this one. I hope Shane Baz is awesome for the Orioles. When these takes come arise, these are the takes I hope I'm wrong on. I hope.
So I do want to reframe what you're saying there like 30 seconds ago. You said, this wasn't the right way to kind of push their chips forward prospect wise. I think the way that we should frame it is this probably wasn't the right guy to push the chips forward.
That's what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, that's
not the right way, because the right way insinuates that you weren't going to pay a 5 prospect haul, including a comp pick, or a 4 prospect haul, including a comp pick, for a starting pitcher. You were going to do that for a starting pitcher.
You're the wordsmith. I'm the ball knower. That is correct.
Yeah, for sure. But the way, I have no problem with the way, because 4 prospects and a comp pick could have gotten you Freddie Peralta, could have gotten you Joe Ryan, could have gotten you Mackenzie Gore. You just have a problem with, and I have a problem with too, the guy that they did it for. Because again, I think if you presented this offer to Paul Taboni, I have no idea what he thinks of Slater DeBrun and Ferret and Overn and Bodine and obviously everybody loves the comp pick. I don't know what he thinks of those 4, but I bet if you put this in front of Taboni, he would sleep on this and he would think about giving you Mackenzie Gore for this haul. And I would much rather have Gore for this identical package than Shane Baz, even though Baz comes with an additional year of control.
And even so, let's say you swapped out that first round pick for Kobe Mayo. Going back to my original point, are you telling me that doesn't solidify a Joe Ryan or a Mackenzie Gore?
It solidifies it. It absolutely
that's where we're coming from. And where is Kobe Mayo going to play? And I hate to say this, but I believe it, so I'm going to say it. I think that this is the Orioles' last rotation move, because this is a big haul. And my guess is, and of course I'm speculating, I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, is that they surveyed the market for a Gore, for a Ryan, for a Lopez, for an Edward Cabrera, and they thought that the prices were a little bit too high compared to what they would rather send for Shane Baz. I'm sure they value Shane Baz in a similar bucket to an Edward Cabrera, maybe even to Freddie Peralta, considering that Shane Baz has 3 years of control at 26 years old versus 1. So this feels to me, because of how big the package was, this is the trade that they make. And what we talked about yesterday in the Playing GM episode, the Orioles are not going to increase their payroll now to $250 million. They aren't. So now it makes more sense that they would spend that money in the bullpen. And Elias came out and said, we want an impact bat. We want to get another starter, and we want some more bullpen guys. There's your starter. Pete Alonso and Taylor Ward were the bats. Now we get bullpen. He's doing what he said, just not in the way that we would think that he should. And maybe we'll be wrong.
I will also say Kobe Mayo is still very movable, and Kobe Mayo can absolutely get you a good closer. So if they do want
I
to
think so too.
push Mayo in a different direction and go get a high-level closer, the Orioles just had a bang-up offseason. So
That might they for what they acquired.
Pete Alonso's an Oriole.
I love Pete Alonso.
For that alone, I call it a bang-up offseason. And Taylor Ward, I understand it's 1 year at $11 million, and you gave up G-Rod for him. Taylor Ward hit 36 pops last year.
I like Taylor Ward. I think the Angels are going to come out on top of that trade, and I think the Rays are going to come out on top of this trade just because you're adding. Sure. It's the way you're adding. I can't call it a bang-out offseason if I think you're overpaying on 2 of the 3 moves that you made.
Sure. Okay. By the way, did I see somewhere that Freddie Peralta is more valuable than Tarek Skubal? We're going to move on to the WBC deal, but I know a lot of you are only here for this. People love Whoosh, man. Every single time we go live, I'm only here for Whoosh.
Don't say people. You and I are people.
I'm really only here for Whoosh. No, yeah, you make a nice point. I'm really only here for Whoosh.
And I'm sure people also like it when there's not a commercial break in the middle, and it's just the Whoosh in the middle of our conversation.
Just a fun little frill. The audio people hate it because it's like, oh, time to hear about this.
You know, people in their car get ready to like skip through the ads or something, and they're like, wait, I just skipped through the conversation. They didn't even do that. They just did a Whoosh for fun.
Yes. Bingo.
Yes. Bingo.
Beauty of the live stream, baby. Commercial free. Okay. I do want to pivot to the World Baseball Classic now because Team USA's roster is filling out quickly, and it looks so much better than what we had in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast P just flashed it on the screen for those joining us live and joining us on YouTube. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for listening wherever you do get your podcast, Spotify or Apple Pods. The lineup is really good, right? Yeah. It's probably looking like Cal Raleigh catching, Kyle Schwarber DHing, Will Smith going to play first, possibly. Bryce Terang at second, Bobby Witt at short, Gunnar Henderson at third. The outfield, some assortment of Corbin Carroll, Aaron freaking Judge, Byron Buxton, and Pete Crow Armstrong. But the drastic improvement on Team USA here sits not only in the bullpen, but in the starting rotation. The bullpen had a good cast of characters in 2023. Devin Williams was the closer. They had some other guys back there as well. But the starting rotation was Merrill Kelly and Lance Lynn and Adam Wainwright, and it just wasn't that fun. It didn't feel like the U.S. was putting their best foot forward. Now, all of a sudden, the U.S. is putting their best foot forward. And they have Mason Miller on the back end. They have Garrett Whitlock and Griffin Jacks on the back end. They have Clay Holmes on the back end as well.
This isn't even fully updated. This isn't even fully updated.
I know.
We got Logan Webb in the rotation, and we have David Bednar as well in the bullpen.
So you got Bednar in the pen as well, but you're telling me that you can run out a starting 5 of Skeens, Skubal, Joe Ryan, Nolan McLean, and Logan Webb, and effectively push Matthew Boyd to some bullpen tune-up innings to get ready for the Chicago Cubs. Matthew Boyd was an all-star. But again, if there are 4 starting spots to be had, McLean could be thrown out of the bullpen. And you're looking at Skeens, Skubal, Joe Ryan, Logan Webb. That is 1,000 times better than what the U.S. ran out in 2023. That right there is where the improvement lies.
And I want to talk about that 2023 pitching staff to show our audience how big of a difference it is. Podcast P, I actually just sent you a screenshot, and let's go through it. So in the rotation, we were looking at Adam Wainwright, Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, Merrill Kelly, Miles Michaelis, Kyle Freeland, Lance Lynn. Let that just sit with you for a second.
Exactly.
And then in the bullpen, Jason Adam, very solid. Kendall Graveman, very solid. Daniel Bard, at the time, solid.
Very solid.
Up and down. Aaron Loop, Ryan Presley, and then Devin Williams closing it out. Comparing that 2023 pitching staff to this one, for all those on YouTube, you can see it now in full color. I mean, it's not even close. I'm sorry, respectfully to these guys, because these are not bad pitchers. But talk about taking it up a notch. Talk about taking it up. What's multiple notches? How do we? You're a wordsmith. What does that mean? How
I
do
don't know.
we? How do
Talk
we
about
phrase it?
dialing it up a couple of notches. You can call it a couple
Dialing
of
it up.
notches.
I like dialing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like pressure. It's like the pressure that Brent Venables is going to bring on the Crimson Tide tonight. You just dial it up.
No, it's like a very good mid-major team going up against LSU.
Yeah, LSU, who found themselves in a coaching search for 6 weeks. Bad college football analogy, Peter. Bad.
It was college baseball analogy. This is the Just Baseball show.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, man.
Did you forget?
This is a total level up that you get from Team USA, and it stems from the starting rotation. And frankly, like, hate to be this guy because I've been accused of glazing for the last 2 years, but like, it stemmed from Skeens.
4 years.
I haven't been glazing Skeens for 4
No,
years.
this whole podcast.
Oh,
I didn't think you were just talking about Skeens. I thought you were just talking about glazing in general. This whole podcast is known
glazing in general. I've been doing that since I was 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured out that I like Mark Burley, and I was like, okay, time to glaze. What?
Podcast piece going like this. You can't say you've been glazing since you were 5.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's an issue. I think you're just talking positively.
Some people listening to this segment will understand why Podcast P is waving his arms, being like, we have to cut. And some people aren't even going to understand the reference. So I think we can just keep on going.
Yeah, we're fine. By the way, people want my college football picks. I will give you my college football picks before we get to Cody Ponce here. But what I will say is it feels like stemmed from Skeens. Think about how early in the process Skeens announced his decision to join Team USA. And right there is the genesis of the glazing. It was probably my favorite pitcher sit down that I've literally ever done when we were in Indianapolis together at the beginning of 2024. But this guy, he announced that he was playing for Team USA so early in the process. He did it last year. The first 2 announcements were Skeens and Judge, and then Raleigh followed. That was such a tone setter for everybody else. And Judge and Raleigh saying yes, it's awesome because it's just higher intensity spring training, right? It's still tune-ups, it's still ABs. They're better ABs, they're serious ABs. It's some of the most fun baseball you will ever play, maybe the most fun baseball you will ever play in your life if you don't get the opportunity to go to the World Series. But like, pitching is different. Gearing up for a regular season is different. People are used to their spring training routine, and this is too high intensity for some guys. But Skeen setting the precedent, I guarantee you lit a fire under Scooble was like, shit, I'm going to do this. Same with Logan Webb, like, shit, I'm going to do this. And Joe Ryan, probably the same thing too, man. When you look at the shortcoming of that Team USA team in 2023, Skeen said that's not happening again. And then you had other guys jump on.
No, this reminds me of the Redeem team for USA basketball when they went to the Olympics. And it was almost like a avalanche. It was a waterfall of guys accepting, right? First comes LeBron, then Steph Curry, then KD, then Carmelo, right? All of these guys. Well, if you're playing, wait a minute. Let's go win this thing. Let's go win this thing. And this roster is shaping out. Like right now, you could say that this is the best pitching staff in the history of the world. And that sounds hyperbolic. What do you mean history of the world? Find me another rotation that has Skeens and Scooble and Logan Webb and Joe Ryan and Nolan McLean, right? Yeah. No country can combat that. No MLB rotation can combat that in the history of baseball. My last question for you on the USA side before we look over at the Dominican Republic. Who's the ace?
I think Skeens gets the ball game won.
It's so
Let's
funny.
say you.
So I don't know because I'm dealing with this. On one side, you have Tarek Scooble, who could very realistically go Cy Young, World Baseball Classic Trophy Cy Young. And then on the other side, you have Paul Skeens. When you look at the start of his career, who does it line up against? Doc Gooden, Jose Fernandez, Fernando Valenzuela, like some of the best starts to an MLB career in the history of the game. He went Rookie of the Year. He went College World Series Rookie of the Year as a pitcher, which is very hard to do. Ask a Cubs fan about Kate Horton. Ask a Braves fan about Spencer Strider. Immediate Cy Young and blew the rest of them away. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's why I threw it over to you so you wouldn't ask me, because I don't know.
Yeah, and I know the answer. I think in terms of a tone setter, Skeen's game 1 would be awesome because, again, he was the first. Like, he beat Skubal to this team by 6 months.
I'm surprised you don't have a left-handed bias. You were a lefty. Don't you want the lefty to get the game 1 nod?
My baseball career, and I know that you vehemently disagree with me on this, my baseball career is so fucking irrelevant to my baseball life now.
Maybe yours. Don't speak for me.
No, I mean, you were gonna go D1, right? You would have been All-State if you could.
If it wasn't for this elbow, I'd be on this Team USA team.
How much you want to bet I can throw? You want to bet I can throw a football over the mountains? Peter is Uncle Rico. My baseball life just doesn't matter. I talked about it.
All I'm saying is nobody has challenged me yet. I'm saying all this crap and no one has said, all right, let's see it. That's all I'm saying.
Someone pull up his 20 or what was it? Max Prep. Someone pull up his Max Preps page and tell me what
SP's got it. He's waving. Let's do it right now. Why not?
Come on, give it to me.
Throw it up.
I'm adding Peyton. Peyton, speak. Say your piece on Peter's baseball career.
That's
in 2016 and 20. It's gonna sound like I'm making this up. I swear to God. In 2016, Peter had a low 2 ERA and an OPS over 1,000 in high school.
You talk like that ERA sub 1. It was low 2s.
Low 2 ERA, OPS over 1,000. I mean, who else is doing that in Major League Baseball right now? Ohtani? Yeah. That's all I'm saying. And people see those stats, and nobody challenges me, and I'm calling everybody out. I'm not saying they're scared, but nobody's been knocking at the door. So you come to your own conclusions on that.
It is funny, the glaring difference. Like, you still love talking about when you played, and you do it in a joking manner, which I love. This is Peter's page, by the way. 2.27 ERA in 12 1/3 innings.
A 2.27 ERA compared to an average of 6.15.
Exactly. Look at
ERA
that.
plus is insane.
My ERA plus is out of this world.
Your Ks per 9 was not that great.
What are you talking about? Do you see that batting average 373 compared to the average of 256? OBP of 500? That's a pretty good stat line. You'd sign that guy tomorrow.
God.
You'd sign that guy tomorrow. Imagine putting up those numbers. Better than Shade Boz, that's for sure.
That's crazy. Also, I saw this comment. Jack was solid defense at first. That's actually what I was. Story about my high school baseball career. I was DH'd for, and I played first base because they liked me defensively at first base, but I couldn't hit. So I was DH'd for. Our pitcher hit.
I love the offseason.
The offseason's hilarious because you do it in a joking manner, but you bring up your playing career all the time. Yes, 10 years, $700 million for Peter. My playing career is so unbelievably irrelevant to this point. I never need to talk about it again in the history of my baseball life. What's to come from that?
All I'm asking is speak for yourself.
Sure. Yeah. There's no good way to transition off of that, but let's pivot to the DR because the only team, it seems like, that can give the U.S. a run for their money. And listen, I know Japan is the defending champ. This is a different beast here, though. And just looking at this team on paper, it's unbelievable what the DR can run out. Yainer Diaz is their catcher. That's a better catching option than they had in 23. They had Gary Sanchez and Francisco Mejia as their catching options. Vladdy's committed to play first base. Ketel Marte at second. Geraldo Perdomo off of a 7-win season is at short. J. Rams third. You've got Junior Caminero and Manny Machado sitting there in the fold as well. And then the projected outfield as it stands right now is Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, and Fernando Tatis Jr. The only committed pitcher at this point for the DR is Sandy Alcantara, which is really cool. And he'll get to throw in Miami. But that in lies the difference between the U.S. and the DR at this point. If the DR matches the U.S. with like Christopher Sanchez and Luis Castillo and Framber Valdez in that rotation, that is a murderer's row type team, and I get really scared.
That team is terrifying. Peyton, throw that up again. That's like staring into the middle of a car crash. Look at that. Soto, J-Rod, and Tatis in their outfield. J-Ram, Perdomo, Marte, and Vladdy is their infield with Caminero as the DH, and your backup is Machado. They could have me pitching with my low 2s ERA.
But you're really good. Yeah.
And they're going to win games. I mean, that is just overwhelming. No wonder we're getting all these pitchers.
Yeah.
That's close to an all MLB team right there.
Again, there are going to be some really good lineups in place. Puerto Rico is going to put together a really good team. Japan is going to put together a great team, obviously. Venezuela is going to put together a great team.
There are going to be guys that you haven't heard of, but you will in a few years when they're posted. Japan is also going to be fantastic. We can't forget they were the winners last year. In the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, they always put out great teams. Puerto Rico, don't want to forget about
Mexico.
that.
Mexico's going to be amazing. Duran or Rosarena are already filling out that outfield.
There's so many good teams. Japan took them down last year, and we can't forget that they have the greatest player on the face of the earth in Shohei Ohtani. They have Yamamoto. They're going to get Tatsuya Imai. They're going to have Murakami. They're going to have all of these different guys. This is why the World Baseball Classic cannot be overstated. Still the best baseball I've seen in person. Now, of course, you have World Series games and you have All-Star games and you have all this great stuff, playoff games. But this type of baseball, when you have every seat filled at Lone Depot Park, bringing unbelievable amounts of energy, and on the field, you can tell every player out there wants it. They want to bring back the gold medal. It's such great competitive baseball. If you are able to get out there to either Houston, Texas to see Pool B with the United States, Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil, or go see Pool D in Miami, Florida with Venezuela, Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, Israel, and Nicaragua.
I mean, dude, get out to Pool A. If you're stateside, you don't even need a passport to go to San Juan. That's easy enough.
Exactly. Maybe Tokyo, Japan is a little bit too far, but then you could watch the quarterfinals of Pool A and Pool B in Houston, or the other side of the bracket, the quarterfinals for Pool D and C at Lone Depot Park in Miami. I'm telling you, folks, if you love great baseball, make this a trip. You will not be disappointed. We went in 2023, still one of the, I think it's still to this day, the most fun I've ever had at a just baseball event. And in 2025, the rosters are getting even better. I can't overstate my excitementness. I can't overstate my consecuteness.
Yeah, sure. Excitement was also there. It was available for you, but you just chose not to use it. But again, sub 2 or
in
low
high
2
school,
ERA.
I was focusing on my low ERA and high batting average over school.
I understand.
Which got me.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good stuff.
A broken elbow.
The Brendan McKay thing was the batting average higher, or the OPS was the OPS higher than the ERA? And the answer for Brendan McKay at Louisville was yes, through like 2 months or something of the college baseball season. Yes. So that feels like you.
I think Ryan Weathers combined with, pick your favorite high school athlete, Billy Carlson.
Yeah, Ryan Weathers was like next level nasty. Although Mackenzie Gore has some of the craziest high school stats I've ever seen.
Wasn't Weathers like an 0.09 ERA in 120 innings? Oh
yeah, God. But Gore was also crazy. So I don't know. Pick your poison as it pertains to that. But I will echo your sentiment. This is the most fun baseball experience you can have. The other thing is, I'm not a hockey guy, but my understanding is the Four Nations series that they played in place of All-Star Week this past year was like the best thing that the NHL could have done. And it was games that really mattered, and it was country on country. It wasn't team on team. What I will say about this is the best assortment of players and rosters that you will see play a hyper-competitive baseball game. You're playing for something. In the All-Star game, you're not playing for anything anymore. And that may be a better roster, I guess, in terms of one facing the other, but they're not playing for anything anymore. And even if they were still playing for home field advantage in the World Series, it's not going to have that feel that the World Baseball Classic does. They're playing for everything in the WBC, and these are better rosters than you will ever see one Major League Baseball team run up.
But even, I think, especially that Dominican Republic roster, I think that's a better roster than some all-star teams, because think about it, at the all-star break, sometimes you get guys who have incredible first halves and then kind of teeter off, but the name value isn't necessarily there. The talent
like Joe Mantiply there. Yeah.
And there's specific fan bases that get their players into the all-star game. I think of the 7 Tigers guys. Shout out Zach McKinstry. I think about all the Blue Jays players, and then looking back, that was probably deserved because they took the Dodgers to 7 games. But Peyton flashed the Dominican Republic. Field again. Just do it one more time.
It is
I want you to look at it and tell me all-star teams are better than this.
There's a world that Geraldo Perdomo hits 9th for this team.
Oh, he absolutely would hit 9th.
What, Julio will hit 8th?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or Yainer Diaz will hit 8th, and then Julio's going to hit 7th. There's going to be a superstar hitting 7th.
I think
for the DR.
Every single player on that team, maybe outside of Sandy and Yainer Diaz, are going to be in my top 50 of my top 100 players that comes out before the season begins.
God, I'm fired.
You think that's fair? Right? Look at that lineup again. Peyton, put it up again. Look at that and tell me who's not top 50.
Yeah,
maybe Machado isn't anymore.
Machado might not be as Caminero there. I mean, defensively, there's some shortcomings, but he hit
46 jacks last year.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you, man.
That's insane. That's a whole team.
Absolutely insane. So can't wait. Again, the World Baseball Classic is in early to mid-March, and pool play is available in Tokyo, in San Juan, Houston, and Miami. It concludes on March 17th at Lone Depot Park in Miami. And oh, by the way, highly recommend getting out to Lone Depot Park for that, because if you haven't been, it's a freaking awesome ballpark. It's a beautiful ballpark, very clean, and that place is electric. They keep the roof closed, so every sound retains in there. That was one of the loudest baseball environments I've ever heard.
So loud. So loud. And I mean, you've been calling games now for an entire season, so you'd be one of the perfect people because you were in the building for WBC and then you called every Marlins game.
When that place is filled to the gills, man, it is an experience unlike anything that you get in Major League Baseball.
So loud. Some of those Cuban games with those fans, it was so much fun. I still think about it all the time. It's so much fun. You have to go there. It has to be one of those destinations that you make throughout your life. You know, we should get hired to market this thing, but it's true. We're not getting paid shit. It is. I can't wait to go. I can't wait.
Love of the game. Love of the game, baby. Okay, we are going to push to our Cody Ponce conversation. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. Cody Ponce is a wonderfully unique person, and you're going to get that right away. Like, he's funny, and he's so true to himself as an individual. And oh, by the way, he's nasty. He was 17-1 in the KBO this year, won KBO MVP and their Cy Young equivalent. Cody Ponce was unbelievable.
And I love the move by the Blue Jays. I mean, we were talking a little bit about it yesterday, so I'll keep it short because I want people to listen to this podcast. I think it's a great signing because I think at worst this guy becomes a high leverage reliever because the fastball sitting 95 to 97 throughout 6 innings. What does that tick up to in the bullpen? And it's not just a dead zone-y fastball. He's getting 17 inches of induced vertical break on that, combined with this kick change that drops off the table. The definition of dropping off the table, plus a really good breaking ball. And then if he emerges as a solid starting pitcher, you got a great deal. And if none of those things happen, which I think there's a high probability that either do, it's $30 million. It's not that big of a deal. And you're about to listen to him. And I think afterwards, you're going to say, this is a different cat. He's going to be able to dominate.
100%. Real quick, plug everything you got to plug. And then I'm going to give my college football picks this weekend. It's
Absolutely.
important.
So if you have been enjoying, especially if you're listening to us live on YouTube, thank you to everybody who's joining. The best way to support this YouTube stream, all you got to do is just like the video. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss any of our videos. And if you are listening to this after the fact on audio, Spotify, wherever you get your pods, best way to support, rate and review 5 stars. And if you would be so kind, leave a written review. I'm sorry, Orioles fans, Cubs fans, don't do it. Actually, you're probably mad at me. Please don't do it. But hopefully you're still enjoying the podcast. You know I love you all. And of course, if you want to get yourself some Just Baseball merch, look at you rocking the hat. Look at you. Be like Jack McMullen. Go get yours. It's a perfect Christmas, Hanukkah gift. Whatever holiday you're celebrating, it is the perfect gift. You can find the link in the episode description. And if you want to join the best baseball group chat in the world, you can find the link to our Discord in the episode description. And without further ado, I think it's time for Cody Ponce.
Hold on. Let me give you my pick.
Oh yeah. You're right. You're right. My bad. I didn't mean to.
And I'm not going to pick an overall winner because we're going to talk before that. But the first weekend tonight is a sick one in Norman, Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma, Alabama. That game might finish 7-3, but give me Bama. They're going to get some revenge. Did I see last time that they lost to the same opponent twice in the same year was in the 1800s, Alabama? So they will not lose to Oklahoma twice in the same season.
They've been playing college football since the 1800s?
Oh, yeah, man. That's when they invented the forward pass. It was like Birmingham City College or something that University of Alabama lost to.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So give me Bama. Give me Bama in this one. A&M Miami is an interesting one. Bain and Mesidor on the outside, they might kill Marcel Reed. So those are two edge guys that you're going to fall in love with next year. And then Bain and Mesidor are probably also going to go top 5 in the NFL draft this year. So give me Miami over A&M. And then the other ones are just going to be dog walks. Like I think Ole Miss is going to annihilate Tulane again. And then Oregon might win by 50 against James Madison. I cannot wait to see Autzen Stadium for a college football playoff game. So that's going to be sick. But now, time for Cody Ponce. Ponce joins the program. I've got a couple of things off the top. Number one, thank you so much for joining us, man. Just signed a 3-year deal with Toronto. Was the KBO MVP and Cy Young equivalent. But my favorite thing that I got from you when I was looking into it today was you had a great conversation with the guys at Baseball is Dead, right? Jared Dallas, Jay Hay, those guys. And the best part of that conversation, and you guys skimmed over it just a little bit, when you initially got the call from your agent about the Blue Jay deal, you ran back to your house. And what was the excuse that you made to your wife that you like cut the dog walk short?
I'm going to shit myself. That's
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to shit myself. That was literally, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to shit myself, you know? And yeah, it was wild.
Did you rehearse that? Like, did you think about what you were going to say to your wife when you came back? And it's like, hey, the agent called. We got to call him back. Or was it, no, I got to poop?
No, it was like, I got to poop. I'm going to shit. Like, literally, and I cut it off because I wasn't sure. But, like, it was literally, I'm going to shit myself. My wife was like, hey, you kind of told that wrong in the interview. It's not, I'm going to poop. And she told me, it's like, if they ask you tonight, you tell them you said, I'm going to shit myself. Sorry for cursing so many times off the rip, but like, she's like, that's got to be implemented. And I was like, you got it, babe. That's what you want. We'll let the people hear it.
So that wasn't from excitement from the offer. That was just like duty calls, separate issue.
No, it was definitely my setting myself up. So that way everybody was like unaware while my agent was still on the phone as I was adding my phone. I was like, and he has something to tell you.
It was awesome. A sneak attack surprise element of it where it's like, oh, no, I came back because I had to shit myself. And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, I've got this 3-year deal on the table.
Yeah.
Did you know the timing would be like that in terms of, you know, getting that offer at this stage of the offseason? Like, did you have any idea what the pacing would be? Because it's so unique coming back over, you know, overseas. We're going to talk about all that as well. But like, did you have any idea what to expect timing wise, offers wise? Like, I'm sure your agent gave you an idea, but at the same time, I imagine that this is something that, you know, you probably didn't really even imagine happening so quickly in the way that it has.
It's yeah, no, I still am like in awe of what's going on. I think I'm always going to be very, very grateful for the opportunity that I've been given right now, and it'll never be undermined by myself. Excuse me. And no, I don't even know how to, like, we put ourselves into that situation all the time, right? You know, we want to be back in the big leagues. That's our goal. It's always the end goal is to be back in the big leagues. And we're going to continue to fight no matter where it is. And I said the other day that like one of my options was to go to indie ball rather than going to Korea. So we got a phone call. I talked to one of my buddies. My wife and I had a long sit down on the couch before we made our decision. And we looked at each other and we're like, we're going to Korea. We're going to do Asia one more time, 2 more times, however many more times it's going to take for me to have a season to possibly get back.
When did it click for you that you could get back? I obviously the stats speak for themselves in 25 in the KBO, but was there a moment in Japan where you felt like you could get back? Because I don't want to, put any guarantees in your mind, but like when you were growing up, chances are you never thought, okay, I was going to get my first taste of big league ball, and then I was going to go to Asia for 3 years, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to solidify myself in the big leagues. When did it click that you could have a second chance in Major League Baseball?
I don't think it ever left me. I think once you have that opportunity, you're always itching to get back. Like I know everybody's like, once you hang up the cleats, like you always have that itch. And I'm just like, I don't want to hang up my cleats yet. Cause like, I want to be back. I would say in 24, when I was in the minor leagues, there was something about like the way I was going about my day, from the routine process, from lifting, from, and I say rehab very lightly, but like rehab, because like you're always doing rehab. It's more like we call it prehab, right? So preventative maintenance. So all of my prehab that I was doing, everything that I was doing and putting in my body, all of the recovery work, I should call it rehab, all the recovery work that I was doing, there was like something that was just like clicking in my body. So like when we came home, we told my agent, I was like, hey, I don't know if I want to do Asia again. Japan, Korea. I was like, I'm just not sure. Like, we're trying to start a family. We want to be closer to our families. It's been 3 long years of, me seeing my grandparents once a year, that's coming home to see the holidays. I mean, and it's still like that, right? I mean, it's not like right now it's like, all right, I got to see my grandparents, and all right, now I moved to Tennessee and now I'm out here. But now I'm going to have the opportunity to be like, hey, come out to some ball games. Don't fly halfway around the world. Yeah. So.
And did you ever imagine that the funniest part too is like, I know it's still North America, it's not far off, but you feel like the world traveler now. That of course the team that you end up signing with is the team in Canada as well. And I think you're going to be like the most well-traveled man in baseball history, it feels like at this point.
Yeah. I mean, when I was with the Premier 12 team, played in Mexico, then went to Japan, and that's like why I always wanted to go to Japan. I even tell people that all the time. I was like, I always wanted to play one part of my career in Japan or in Asia. And so I've done the Mexico, I've done Japan, I've done Korea. Now I'm going to do Canada. And it's like, well, I guess I just like living abroad, I guess.
Maybe. Have you thought about checking off the Dominican Winter League box? Like just making one start down there.
Yeah, just one appearance.
Maybe. I don't know how much that my wife wants to go leave during the off season when we don't even get enough time together as it is right now. But no, maybe because then I can check almost everything off.
I'm excited to get into like just the progression of you as a pitcher and the stuff specifically and things like that. But I'd be remiss not to ask you just about the cultural and just lifestyle experience that came with. One of my biggest like bucket list items is to go to Japan, period, but especially through the baseball lens there, because it's just it's king there, right? Like it's what NFL is right here. Like, and I want to feel that, even though, baseball isn't a great spot here. And then you could say a lot of the same things with Korea as well. Like what were the experiences like for you in terms of, I'm sure just seeing baseball through a different lens and and not that fans here aren't passionate, but I think just like a different type of passion, and enjoying it in a different way. Like, did that give you any different perspective? And, what would you maybe boil down to that some of the biggest takeaways for you and your career and just being out there?
Japan. We'll start with Japan. I learned a lot about culture appreciation. I learned also a lot about routine-based stuff. I think Japan was amazing, and it taught me so much. I had a blast all 3 years when I was in Japan. So many teammates that are still friends that I still talk to. One of my teammates who I played with my second year in Nippon Ham is now working for the Toronto Blue Jays as well. His name's Gosuke Kato. And him and I will call each other every blue moon. When I was in Japan my third year while he was working with the Blue Jays his first year. And I would just be like, dude, what's going on? How are you? I miss you. Because like he was somebody who was able to speak English with. And the fans in Japan and in Korea are both amazing. The way they come and support everybody on and off the ball field was by far, hands down, some of the best fan interactions that I've ever had in my life. Now that'll probably change as I roll into playing Major League Baseball again and kind of dealing with all that and working with being able to hear everybody screaming and shouting at you in the same language. But No, Japan was a blast. I think that was like my first culture shock of fans screaming during games. With you're used to hearing screaming of like, "Let's go, come on, you guys can do it!" Like all the positive reaffirmations. They were doing like they had chants for every batter every single time they would come up, and they would be able to chant those out. That was amazing to me. And then you go to Korea, and they did the exact same. That, I mean, it was loud though, like loud. And I don't know if it was the way the stadiums are, or if it was just how much more, like how much the fans were bought in, you know. And I was just like, whoa. Like opening night, when I stepped on, I got the opportunity to get opening night 2 times this year, was on the road and at home. So I had our stadium home opener. I had the opportunity to toss that and the opening day on the road, KT. Oh my God. I was like, this is loud. I got into the 5th inning and they got even louder. And I was like, as the game goes on, you start hearing like the 7th inning chants, and they get into these things. And I was just like, yo, I can't even hear my pitch comm. Like this is, and I have my pitch comm now, mind you, I usually have my pitch comm at like a 12 out of a 20. And then during postseason, I had it all the way up to 20 because I couldn't hear a thing during the postseason. I was like, glove over the top, and I was like, please, can you hear it? Yep. Okay. All right. We'll go with that pitch. You got it.
I love it. Cody Ponce is with us. I am curious because I have a quick pitch comm follow up there. Do you have a certain voice programmed in? Do you want your catcher's voice there, or do you want like a Siri adjacent voice?
It's pretty much a Siri adjacent. It's whoever was decided. I mean, I was in Korea, so whoever decided to do the English version for me,
yeah,
that's kind of what I rolled with.
You were going to roll
now.
With that.
Now maybe it might change. It might be C3PO when I get back to the big leagues and I back to America in general, and just be like, hey, can you guys program this to sound like C3PO? That'd be great.
100%. I love that. Hey, I do have a question as it pertains to, I guess, unlocking the fun in your game again, because I've heard you talk a lot about that. You did that with the Baseball is Dead guys. You also did that, in media availability that you had on the Toronto front as well. And, like unlocking fun, finding fun again for a professional baseball player, especially at the highest level. It's a rare thing to hear guys talk about openly. And I'm just curious, like when you felt like you unlocked that fun again. Was it in Japan, or was it when you really started to get going in the KBO?
It was. I started to unlock it in Japan. Okay. My 3rd year, I didn't have a great start, so they sent me to the minor leagues, and I was just like in a pissed off state of mind. Right, like nobody wants to start bad, nobody wants to have bad outings, and it was just like full tunnel vision and just very upset. And my wife's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, we need to figure something out. And then I would turn on a football game and just remember how my brother-in-law just like gets hit for a living. And I was like, how do you have a smile on your face when everybody's supposed to be mad and trying to tear each other's heads off? He's like, dude, you just gotta have fun. And I was like, man, I forgot about my 12-year-old self. That's how I talk about myself. Like when I talk about like when I'm playing baseball, I talk about it. I say it's my 12-year-old self, because like when I was in Little League, my 12-year-old self was playing against your buddies that you go to school with, and you were just having a blast, just trying to strike your buddies out. And I was like, that's fun to me. So that was context,
sorry, go ahead.
No, it was just like, so like that was kind of like in 24 in the minor leagues. I was like, oh, who cares? Like, I'm here. I might as well just go have fun. And I just put a smile on my face, and it was just like, all right. And then that kind of rolled into 25, and I was like, and the scouts that saw me, they kind of saw that the smile side of Cody rather than like that super serious. And now I'm not saying everybody needs to have a smile side, because like some people have to have that. I call it as I have him here. You have to have that dark side, right? You have to have your alter ego. You have to have that different person, your villain, or you're a good man. Like if you're always upset, like, and you got to be the opposite of you, like you have to have that opposite and that turn on that switch to play the game that we love, but also play it at the highest level and the best of our abilities. So whatever we need to do to get there is what we have to do. And for me, it was just like, well, I can feel like Anakin when he's fading away from the Jedi Council and going to Mustafar to get his legs chopped off by Obi-Wan, or as I'm like leading into my game. But I also have to remember, like, he still loves, He still has love and hope in his heart. So I was like, that is kind of my little bit of how I keep myself balanced during game days. I'm like,
I was going to
you
ask
took it from me.
I was going to ask where you got the perspective there, but it sounds like Star Wars. Because for context, so people may not know, your brother-in-law is George Kittle. George Kittle is one of the like more happy-go-lucky, outwardly football players that you see. Did that come just from watching George? Did you have a specific conversation from George, or was it watching Star Wars again and having that connection? Because that perspective that you have is not easy to obtain, and you know is really valuable.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Him and I had some conversations. Him and even my father-in-law like helped me out a little bit and kind of showed me some things that they did when they were kind of working with George early on in his career. They call it like the alter ego effect, and you try to find your alter ego. And so I was like, well, like, tell me more. And that was like in 23. And then 24, I was like kind of just like playing around with everything and just like, well, do I need to be a super serious guy? Do I need to be like a super happy guy? And I was like, I got to find that happy medium for me. So watching him, yes. Talking with him, yes. Going over things like, how do you do this? How do you go about that? Like, how do you stay who you are every single day, no matter what's going on? And, you know, we just talk about those little things, and we just send each other a bunch of videos on Instagram that keep us like 12-year-old kids again, you know? So like just keeps a smile on our face and keeps us a little bit more happy.
Cody, you're clearly somebody that prioritizes, I guess, their individuality and also like what makes them tick, what makes them feel best on the pitcher's mound, also just off the field in general. You're somebody that is a very unique individual and someone that is their own version of themselves. Dylan Cease also ticks like that. Have you had a chance to chat with Dylan Cease at all? Because this guy's a yoga guy, a disc golf guy. You guys are going to be like best friends in Toronto, huh?
I haven't talked to him at all. I'm very excited to hear his yoga flow and everything that he has. My wife is a health and wellness coach. She does breathwork practices. We have a mindful wellness program called Hidden Pearls. Just drop that in there. I'll send you guys a link to put that in so everybody can click on it. Which also teaches yoga, and she is a licensed yoga studio teacher. So she's also helped me with yoga flows for recovery work, for prep work, and just like having fun work. Like if you can't get a lift in today, at least you can get a yoga flow in. So that'll be fun to have a conversation with him about and see what he kind of does and goes about. But my wife also hates me because I'm a hypermobile, super limber, large man. I can touch my toes and do a full lotus. If anybody knows what yoga is, like a full lotus, like you can put my feet on top of my legs when they're crisscrossed. And my wife's like, how do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I've done it my entire life. And she's like, I've been working for that for so long and you can just do it. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I don't get it. But she can do things that I can't. She holds poses forever. And I'm just like shaking out of my britches. And I'm like, well, I guess this is the difference between you and I.
Exactly. You can get there. Now, you, speaking of, I guess, the work that, you do physically, I heard you mention you've got some really notable, I guess, off-season training partners. Like you get to work out with Crochet a good bit. You work out with him in the wintertime, right? Jordan Montgomery as well.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of like an iron sharpens iron effect there? Do you ever bounce ideas off of either of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you walk in and you look up and you see a girl at Crochet, excuse me, and then Monty's got me beat by like half an eyeball, right? Like I call Monty, Jordan Montgomery has me beat by like half an eyeball. And I'm like, these guys are bigger than me, like taller. And they're also just throwing weights around. And I'm just like, well, I better just figure it out and step it up. And all right, this is what we're going to be doing for the year. So yeah, there's a mental aspect. I don't know if it's an iron sharpens iron kind of thing, but when you're in a gym with those kind of guys, everything kind of changes about your attitude and mentality of what weights you're picking up and how you're doing it. And you're making sure you're doing everything to the best. And I think that's been like that for all of my off seasons because I've been blessed to have amazing people to be able to work out with. I had Joe Musgrove the year before, and he taught me so much. I mean, every gym that I've gone to has been amazing and has had pro ball players that I've only learned from. And that's what I constantly love to do is I just constantly love to learn.
And there were some things I imagine that you and this is the cool part. We talk about being well traveled, where like you can just learn from so many different angles, whether it's your personal life and like people in other sports that you're close to, or other players in Major League Baseball. But then, just in the NPB and KBO side of things, I'm sure there were some conversations with teammates that probably opened your eyes to different things as well. Who were some guys that you got to play with out there? I know you played with Ryu. I'm sure there were some other vets that you played with. Like, was there any unique perspective or info? Or I also think about, I know the balls are different. I'm going to ask you about that too, but like pitch design, because these guys, dude, like when I'm trying to figure out what pitches, I just wrote up like a report on Tatsuya Imai, and he has like 4 different changeup grips, and it's like the way that they can manipulate the baseball is incredible. Like, was there any conversations out there, anything you took away from some of the pitchers out in NPB or KBO?
Yeah, I mean, I talked with a lot of guys. I mean, I've watched a lot of work ethic. I ask questions when I can. For me, it's like I just watch work ethic and I watch what they do going through. So like I had Tanaka when I was in Rakuten, and I was just kind of just watching what he did. I was like, okay, like, what do you do? What time do you get in here? How hard, like, how much are you doing lifting? Like, how much of your recovery work are you doing? What are you doing? How much cardio? Like, everything. Like, I watch the way people walk. Like, how are you a toe lander? Are you a heel lander? Are you, do you do high knees this way? I like look at everybody in detail, and I'm trying to pick little things that I can learn to then put into my daily work, and then to continually elevate whatever I can. This year, I think I learned the most from just watching everybody and then asking questions afterwards. So I watched Ryu pitch. I watched Moon Dongju pitch. I watched Ryan Weiss pitch. I watched everybody pitch. And I was like, okay, so now we're a month in, and now I feel like, okay, I kind of have a feeling and understanding of how everybody works. Now I'm going to start asking questions. And then I started asking Ryan, and because we were English speakers, and that was great because we just got to chat all day long. But I was like, dude, Ryu throws this like super slow curveball, all like 1-0, 0-0, 3-0, like behind in the count. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, why wouldn't you just try to bang that? He goes, oh no, he has like 3 curveballs. He throws them in every single count at all different times. And I was like, he's like, you got to be able to just throw any curveball at any time. Like, if you're 2-1, you got to be able to just flip your curveball into the zone rather than trying to like bang it to get a swing and miss or a rollover. So that was something I learned from Ryan, but while watching Ryu. So that way, like, I was like, dude, that doesn't make sense to me. Right. And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure this out. So I was like able to throw one that was like 75, 80 miles an hour, and then be able to bang one for like 85. And like having those differentials, and like we can get into pitch design. That's a whole hour-long conversation, which I love. But like those differentials allowed me to be able to set people up and then put them away with the exact same pitch.
Do you feel like you're going to take a lot of this to your next taste of the big leagues, to your elongated taste of the big leagues? Because it's so much of what makes you, right? It's why so many MLB teams were interested, but also you just don't see many guys pitch like that in Major League Baseball. Are you concerned that I guess you'll lose some of that creativity that you might have picked up in Japan and Korea, or is that something that's always going to stay in your game?
That's always going to stay in my game. I wouldn't even call it creativity. I would just call it learning. I think no matter what you're doing, like, you're never going to be the best. Somebody's always better than you. And how much can you learn from that person who is better than you? Right. Watching how somebody goes about their day, like Dylan Cease, I'm just going to watch. I might just be like, hey, can I just follow you around for the day? Ask you questions, can pick your brain about this when we're sitting on the bench. How do you hold this? What do you do with that? And it's like, I'm not trying to be nosy. I'm just trying to understand. I'm still trying to learn because I don't know everything, and I don't want to come off as a person that knows everything. So somebody would be like, well, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know, but you want to go find out together? You want to go like, hey, how come your curveball goes, instead of from like 12 to 6, it's like a 1 to 7. I'm like, well, I don't know, but we can go talk data guys and we can figure that out together. Like, I'm not going to be somebody who's like, oh yeah, well, if you were to do it this way, and I'm gonna be like, well, I don't know how to do it, dude. I have no problem saying I don't know. And I've learned that really quickly in pro ball. It's like, you're better off saying like, I screwed up. And then rather than making an excuse or saying, I don't know, because if you just try to make an excuse and come up with something, you're just going to bury yourself even more. So for me, I'm a I don't know guy, but give me like 2 hours and I'll go figure it out and find out for you. So that way I can give you all the information you need.
Well, Jack and I have talked about that. I don't know might be the most underused phrase in humankind. It's okay to not know. We always talk about it's actually a sign of intelligence, but also in the sports take world, it's like against the law to say that, right?
Yeah.
In sports media or whatever you're doing. I do want, and maybe there isn't, a ton to this answer. Maybe it has to do with a little bit of the, just the work, the alterations with working out, things like that. But, you ticked up to average fastball velo of like 95.5 this past year, which was like a tick above the year before, which was a tick above the year before, if I'm not mistaken. What would you attribute that to? Was it different training regimen getting into this last season? Did you find something mechanically? Because that bump up to, averaging 95.5 here, like obviously I'm sure was part of the reason why teams were also, I mean, aside from the whole arsenal, which I'm excited to get into with you as well. I mean, that's not easy to do, especially, as you're adding and adjusting different pitches.
There's one thing, and we talked about this beforehand. It's eating. So I'm just going to show everybody that I was eating literally the last 2 minutes before we started this show. My wife makes me eat food. I have a problem. Not a problem. I have a go button. And for me, once I start going, I never stop. It's just, and if I don't sit down to actually eat, then I just won't eat for the day. Like I walked in tonight at 5:00 and I was like, guys, I gotta get on this show. I'm hop on with the boys and we got a podcast. And I was like, wait a minute. It's 4:50 and I haven't eaten since breakfast at 8:00. What am I doing? And then I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, okay, I gotta eat food, but I'm not hungry. And I'm like, I'm not hungry because you just get used to not eating and your body just goes into that state, but that's whatever. My wife is the biggest factor of my performance on and off the field for health-wise, for velo ticks, for everything, because she's like, you're not a 235 kid. You're not a 235 man. You are a 255, 260, 6'6" human being. And I go, okay, well, how do we do that? She goes, well, it's just time to eat. And I was like, well, when's time to eat? She goes, now. Like now. I was like, but like, what about tomorrow? She's like, whenever you wake up, it's time to eat. And then when you're ready to eat again, you should have eaten an hour before that to then eat during the time that you were actually hungry. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna be a big bodied man. And now I'm just like sit 255 to 260. I think my fluctuation rate, I call it my happy number, is 257.
Wow. Do you have a favorite pre-start meal that your wife makes, or is it something that you can get at the ballpark? Is there a ritual there for the pre-start meal?
Pre-start meal ritual, breakfast, I think during season is the same thing every single day.
Okay. For
all 160 days. And it's toast with 3 eggs. Well, it used to be a lot more, but it's 4 pieces of toast, 3 pieces of toast with 2 eggs, hard over medium with butter and then jelly on top, and then you put the egg on top of the butter and jelly on top of the toast. And I'd have 3 of those when I wake up in the mornings.
That's crazy.
So I'm just like crushing calories. And then she's like, have you eaten today? And I was like, yeah, I had a little snack, I think. She's like, what's your little snack? And I was like, I had a protein shake. And she's like, Cody. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I'm on it. I was like, I'll go make us dinner right now. I'm on it. What do you want? So, but no, that was like, I think it all is a big tip. And thank you to my wife, because at the end of it, like, she's the reason why my velo's kind of ticked up, because my weight in the last 4 years has gone from 235 to 255, right? Like 20 pounds. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah. And good weight too. Like, and that's the part where, I mean, you look at what you were able to do this year from a command perspective and just, from an innings perspective, just the volume, everything across the board. Did it give you with the uptick as well? I mean, the zone whiff numbers are like off the charts, but that also is factored in with the change up that you had and you were able to add. And was it the velo uptick, the change up, a culmination of things? Like 36% strikeout rate's insane, but also just like the confidence in the zone. Like, did you just feel like your stuff was working on a different level this past year where all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm getting swings and misses on this and this and this? Like, did it feel different at all this year? Because again, you've had some really good years, but this past year was just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think in 24, there was a time early in the year where we were trying to figure out like a splitter, right? Like in Asia, like most people, you have to have a splitter. And I didn't have anything that just bottomed straight out. Everything for me was a changeup that kind of was like a slow two-seam, that kind of the traditional changeup, like, but it never had enough depth. It was just kind of a fadey two-seam, but it was way slower than my fastball. But when you're a fastball and a curveball guy, and that's what they're going to strike you out with, and you find out that your cutter doesn't cut and it's a BP heater that you just threw up and into lefties or down and away to righties, that they can just get jammed and get base hits or flare out over the second baseman's head. You become a two-pitch guy and it's fastball, curveball only. So then again, this kind of goes back to the redeveloping and like the whiff percentage. It's like, well, I sat down there in the minor leagues for I think like 3 or 4 months, and I was like trying to figure out a sweeper at the time. Now I'm a pronator, so like this whole sweepy thing that everybody does, I was like, when you say my fingers in front of the ball, how do you mean this way? Because I want to go that way. I want to go on the outside of the baseball, not on the side of the. So I was like trying to figure it all out. Like I just started reinventing everything that I knew. Started trying to throw a two-seam again. Maybe get something in off the hand so that way my four-seam and curveball play a little bit better, and my changeup was just a changeup. Then this offseason, I just watched a video online, and I was like, "Ooh, that pitch looks fun." I have big hands, just like for perspective points, right? Like, here's your fastball. Like, that's what a baseball looks like in my hand. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
for those that are just on audio.
On audio, he is enveloping this
ring
baseball.
finger is about a half inch or less from the thumb.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ball.
Make sure that one doesn't fall. But like I was like, well, that looks fun. I got big hands. I can try to put my finger on top of a baseball. And then I was like, oh, I feels comfortable in my hands. Like I just was sitting around on my couch and just kind of messing around with it. Went in the next day. I was like, hey, Monty, you want to just try catching this pitch for me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to try to start it at your head, and I don't know where it's going to go. Just let it go. If there's a net behind you, I don't know. Started his head, finished at his belt, and he's like, that's pretty good, Cody. You might want to stick with that pitch. And that then gets us into this year. I think that was one of the bigger factors, right? You go from a guy who's a 2-pitch guy, and now you're a 4-pitch guy. Like I figured out how to throw like I call it a slutter. It's just a gyro.
I was going to ask you about the cutter.
Yeah.
It performed so well this year. You held opponents to like a 150 batting average with it.
Yeah. Well, it was just enough. It stayed right on the line. It had a little bit of horizontal. I think I was like negative on average, like -1, maybe -2 on average, like just enough where it went down, and it had just enough vert, so it just kind of stayed down. So for lefties, I can kind of just barely sneak it in back foot, but for righties, it was just enough to get a little rollover. But then I started throwing it more, so you had to kind of have that respect for it. So then you go from a 2-pitch guy to a 4-pitch guy, and everything in the zone now goes from I'm just going to sit vertically in middle to now I have to respect all the 4 corners. So I think like that was like one of my bigger things, and then trusting my catcher. I mean, I had my catcher Troy, and everybody in Korea, if you watch this, and if I was you guys, I'd make sure I put Korean subtitles, AI chat on, because they will watch this. If you put Ponce in Korean, we can cut that out a little quick. But everybody in Korea knew that when I did an interview post game, my catcher Troy was literally and still will always be the reason why I had such amazing success. Him and our other catcher have over 40 years combined total, so 20 each in the KBO. And I was like, hey, brother, whatever you call him, I think I might have shaken him off. I'm talking in 29 starts, I think in total, maybe 2 times at most to start.
Wow.
At most. I'm just like, yeah, sure. And then like we got to the second half, and he's like, I would always joke because Ryu called his own game, so he would have pitch calm on his glove. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get pitch comm one day. One day I'm going to get pitch comm. I'm going to call my own game. And I think he might have missed one game out of the 29. He was like, he caught every single game for me except for one, I think. And I called my own game. And he comes up to me after the game. He goes, looks like you like calling your own game, huh? And I was like, with you? Absolutely not. You're calling the game. So, but the next time I had it out, and every time he would call and I didn't like it, it was so much easier to just be like, this is what I'm thinking. But if you don't like it, shake me off again and we can go with it. So our communication was a lot better that way. But I mean, when you have two guys that you can just bounce information off of and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this with this guy? And then they're like, yeah, sure. So long story short, I'm so sorry. I just spent like probably 10 minutes rambling on about that. Pitch development with my changeup, giving myself a 4-pitch mix and trusting my catcher who has 20 years in the KBO. And yeah.
I want to stick on the changeup for a minute because you spiked the middle finger, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does it differ from a standard kick change? I guess a kick change is not a standard pitch by any means because it's kind of the thing that's like taking over Major League Baseball. Like guys are finding kick changes and pretty much everyone is, making headlines right now. Oh, this guy has a kick change. This guy has a kick change. How does yours differ than I guess what Clay Holmes is rolling out and Birdsong, those guys?
I have no clue. I literally couldn't tell you if it's a kick change. You can call it a Ponce change. You can call it a split change. For me, it's my changeup, and I grip it like the way I grip it. I don't know if it's considered a spike or if it's considered just putting pressure. I just found it, and I just keep ripping the hell out of it as fast and hard as I can, and just let it do what it needs to do.
And you just found it on a video, a YouTube video, or
I couldn't even tell you where I found it anymore. Like. I found it one day and I watched it and I just started gripping it in my hands and I was like, oh, this feels comfortable. And then like 3 days later, I was like, man, it's not doing what I want to. And I was like, what was that pitch called again? And I like couldn't even remember. I was like, well, I guess I'll just have to figure this out because it worked once. So I got to, it worked at least a few times. So I got to just keep throwing it. And I just would just mess with it in my hands.
Is there any adjustment process? Obviously you have the history of throwing the big league ball, but also they change that thing all the time, especially probably since you were last in the big leagues. But also, you see it generally like guys are going to lose about 1.5 inches of vert or so. It depends on the guy coming over, and then each of their pitches, depending on the spin efficiency. But you being a pronator, I think makes it interesting. Will change. Obviously, the big hands probably help. Like, you have this whole off season to just continue to throw with it. Were you throwing with the big league ball ever in the past? Like, I would imagine it wouldn't really make sense. So what's that process like? I'm sure it's not that big of a deal. Your stuff's your stuff, but obviously there's a little bit of an adjustment to that. Like, what is the process of getting used to that? And, what does that look like for you through the off season?
Play catch, start throwing bullpens whenever I can, and then get down to spring training a little early and just talking to all the analytic guys. Because as much as like we have analytics where I throw, TrackMan's great. I would love to have Edgertronic, somebody else to kind of help me out. I grew up in the age of coming up from 15 to 19 and 20, like where TrackMan and Rapsoda were just kind of barely being introduced, and like everybody was kind of learning about it. But if you were in college, it was like this massive thing that everybody like had to know, and you got slammed in you. And I'm just kind of like, well, I don't really know what to do with these numbers that you guys are talking about. But now I'm like, okay, I learned it. I had to learn it because I found out my cutter wasn't cutting. And I was like, well, I got to figure something else out here. So go down to spring training early, talk to all the analytic guys, create a relationship with them and all the coaches and all my teammates, and just kind of work from there. And just because like they're going to have the best eyes on me because they're going to be seeing me every single day.
Cody Ponce, you've been so generous with your time, man. I got one more for you. Or may have a couple more, but I'm curious about the courtship process during free agency. Like, what was that like for you? And why were the Blue Jays ultimately the right fit for you? And was there ever a moment of, I guess, doubt in that whole process? Or was it like, man, this is sick that I can have these conversations now at this point in my baseball life?
It was wild. It felt like I was getting drafted again, to be honest with you. I was like, wow, this is I get to have conversations with X, Y, and Z now. And I'm just like, my wife's like, so this is amazing. So we're going to have a call with so-and-so. And I was like, Yeah, we are. I was like, I try to like keep everything as like level, and like I didn't want to get too much excitement. I didn't want to do. Sorry, I think my dog just ran into my door. Which I love him. He's just this little Belgian Malinois mix. Excuse me.
High energy, I know that.
Oh my goodness, yes, but I love him to death because
I have a
can just
German
throw.
Shepherd, and I
Yep.
always hear like, "Oh, you have no idea. You've never seen a
Yep.
Belgian Malinois." So.
Yeah, I'm like, I just keep throwing. He's my halftime catch partner. I just keep throwing the ball up and down the property, and just like, all right,
Unlimited motor.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful process. My wife and I had a blast. All the teams I did talk to, I'm very honored and to have had those conversations with, and we'll never forget the opportunities that could have been with those teams, and I'm very, very grateful for them. But I am very excited to be a Toronto Blue Jay. I think what they did in the last 5 years and seeing how their organization has grown, and the way everybody is on that ball field. And I mean, I only watched a few games because time change was an absolute ringer for us. But I would wake up in the mornings and be like, World Series games around. Let's watch. Because like I grew up in LA. That's all I'm saying with that. And just like seeing like how much they love playing baseball, and their manager, my manager, our manager. I talked to him a little bit, and he sounds and seems like such an amazing guy, and just a player's coach. And I'm like, now I'm very excited even more to have a relationship with everybody and go out there and shop it up.
I talked to a couple guys, that were on the Blue Jays team, a couple of your teammates, that the way that it was described to me in terms of the clubhouse was like the closest thing they'd felt since like college, right? Where it was just, or even high school ball. Like that's how tight that Blue Jays team was. And it's amazing that felt like we all could see that on the field, which is rare because you don't always know what's going on in the clubhouse, but it was tangible with the way that they were playing. I was going to ask if you watched, and so that answers the one side of the question, but the other two-parter about the Blue Jays organization. One, how much did you find out, even through the process? Like, I don't know, sometimes you reach out to some people, whatever it may be, about, what kind of clubhouse you'd be joining. Cause again, it just seems like it's such a tight group. And then two-parter, very different side of it. In the past, I used to be like, what are the Blue Jays doing on the pitching development side? And now in the last few years, it's like, man, the Blue Jays are up there with just about anybody with what they're doing on the pitching development side. Two different things, but both involved, I'm sure, in the process of doing your recon. Did you do any recon on both of those sides of things, and how much did both of those aspects play into your decision?
Those were two big aspects. When we were having conversations, I did peek on the pitching development side and the learning side of being a pitcher and coming back, especially from Asia. But I think like the biggest thing that was like amazing to hear was how great they are with all of their families. Like I have now my first daughter, my first child, who is 6 weeks old. And
congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you guys.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And so she is now my everything, right? So like, as long as my wife is happy, my daughter is okay and happy and trying not to cry as much as she has been. That's like all I care about. And their family organization that I heard was like incredible. And I was like, okay, that was like the biggest check of a box for me. And I know everybody around the league does amazing jobs with families and everybody feels included. But the way they talked about how all the wives are always together, and you saw the screenshot of them in the suite together during the World Series, and my wife saw that and she's like, that looks like an amazing time. Those look like wives I want to be with. And I was like, wow, look where we are now. So that was, I think, the biggest factor for our decision was family side. And then, of course, they're what they've done with the pitching development. But I think, I think everybody now kind of has an understanding of, the spin rates and all of that, and track. I call track eye because it was like Hawkeye, TrackMan, all of the data, all of the cameras all over the place. We can all find that. Whereas like some teams like were like so far ahead because they knew and they had those guys that were already 3 steps ahead of everybody else. But no, I am very excited to be a Toronto Blue Jay. I am very excited to go out and do whatever I can for the team and have a lot of fun, and hopefully plow a couple inches of snow from my driveway in the beginning of April, because it's still going to be snowing up there, and just do whatever I can for the team.
You'll love Toronto, man. I lied. I do have 2 rapid fire to let you go
Okay.
with. Number 1, winningest pitcher out of Cal Poly Pomona. Who is it?
I have no clue.
Mike Munoz, career record of 18-20. Let's see you get to 18 Ws. I think you got 1 big league win under your belt right now. You need 17 more.
17.
The other
Okay.
one, Baseball Reference has you listed as a pitcher and left fielder. So I
Sick.
was just curious if you remember your only appearance on the Baseball Reference register in left field.
Yeah, I do. Cape Cod League, 2014 going in 2015. I was playing for the man named John Altabelli. He's an absolute legend. He was the one with Kobe, probably one of the greatest managers I've ever played for in my life. He called me up and said, hey, I need you to play left field in one of the last games during the Cape Cod League. I said, why? He goes, because we're not making playoffs and half of our team just left. I said, great. Put me out there. He goes, no making any stupid plays, no laying out, no diving, no doing nothing of that. So I said, okay, no stupid plays, not a problem. There's a ball going back to the track, running back, catch the ball, and coming in. I ran back, was coming in. The guy tagged up from third, and I just let the ball eat to home plate. And he was safe, obviously, by a couple steps, but I had to make a try, absolutely. And he comes in at the end of the inning. He goes, I told you no stupid plays. And I go, that wasn't a stupid play. That was a stupid throw. That's completely different. And he's like, all right, Cody, touche. But no more of that. You're just out there to catch baseballs and throw them into the shortstop. And I was like, good. But yes, do I remember? I remember that
Sounds
game
like it.
very clearly. I was like, yes, I know my left fielder.
I love that.
My very, very last one. Again, there's always so much talent over there. And I've noticed just through our baseball coverage and everything. And anytime we post highlights of guys that are coming over, whatever, you start to see people in the replies. Well, what about this player in the KBO? What about this player? And there just seems to be more global interest as there's just so much talent around the world. Lewin Diaz, who I saw come up in the Marlins org, hit 50 last year. But are there any other hitters specifically or just players in general that, just really impressed you out there that you think should be on people's radar that maybe could eventually come over here, but just are also just impressive talents?
Well, I'd love to see Ryu come back just for the heck of it. Just for fun. I'd be like, hey, come on back to Toronto so we can be teammates one more time, which I know he will never do because he loves his family and he loves being in Korea. A few other players, you guys, I barely remember my last game that I pitched in the regular season. I remember postseason; those are different. But regular season games are, yeah. On my team, I can honestly say this guy, one of my teammates' names, and I call him my little brother, my Dong-seng. That's little brother in Korean, is Moon Dong-ju. He is a absolute unit of a person and a ball player and an even better human being. He will, on average, sit 95, 97 and touch 100. I think he touched 162.2 or 3 this year. And I was like, coming out of the pen, and I was like, all right, brother, I get it. We would have a velo game, him and I sometimes during starts, and I was like, hey, 157 tonight, 158 tonight, and he'd come up and be like 159 tonight, and I was like, all right, I remember who you are. My bad, brother. But yeah, he's somebody I would definitely watch out for.
That's awesome. Cody Ponce, dude, really appreciate it. This was amazing.
Absolutely.
Man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys.